Hi, I'm going to be talking about various transfer techniques, and most of them are for image ways to add images to your pieces after your pieces have been glaze fired. But the first one I will talk about is actually screen decals, and these are a pieces that have been screens that have been printed with underglazes. And this is just a small bit of one. It's blue and would transfer this particular image onto leather hard clay. I'm going to actually be using this little piece right here, which is a red pattern printed on rice paper, and I will put it on this leather hard chunk of clay. So it's a little bit like attaching a temporary tattoo. As you can see right here, I've already attached using a similar, also a screen print on rice paper, a bird and a butterfly on the other side. Now I'm going to lay this down and use a sponge to make it damp and get it to stick to the ball of clay. And then I will just keep on adding just a little bit more water and a little pressure to make sure that the piece of rice paper is getting fully saturated with water, and wait just a minute for the image to actually transfer from the paper where it was printed onto the clay itself. And it takes just a few minutes, a little bit of patience. And then to see if it's actually worked, you can just grab a corner of the paper and pull it up, and if you'll be able to see if, mine is mostly working. There's a spot right here that could use a little bit more time, so I'm putting it back on right there, but trying to add some more damp pressure. And now I'm continuing to pull it off, and you can now see the image on the piece of clay. So, and again, the birds over here. So that is a screen decal. If you know how to do screen printing, you can make your own screen print decals. All the ones that I own or have purchased for the studio, I bought online or purchased them at NCCA. So another technique that I want to talk about which is also commonly commercially produced, are these China paint decals. So China paint decals are commercially produced. They transfer in a way pretty similar to the underglaze screen print. So I cut this one out. It looks like this. And these can be purchased on eBay or any place online. They tend to be a little cliche in the imagery, but you can do interesting things with them. So right now that decal is soaking in water, and what I'm going to try to do is get the paper backing to fall off, and then I will be able to slide it onto this bowl, which I've already put one decal on, but I will put another one on it as well. So that's a commercially produced decal. Just checking to see if it's loose yet. It's not loose yet, but we don't have a 4-color printer for decals in the studio, but you can send those out to get printed by small companies that print those for artists. But what I also want to talk about are a couple decal options that we can print here in the studio. One is just a laser printer, prints black and white, but actually there's nothing that's been altered with this printer. It's just a late model laser printer that has iron in the toner. So when you transfer this image onto a ceramic piece and fire it, it's going to fire with all the things that make it black will disappear, but the iron will stay, and the iron can melt and create an image on your piece. So here I have a piece by a student who was doing a text-based work on these cups, and you can see she's printed a pretty clear image and with text. I also have another sample here of a photograph that has been transferred onto this dish and then fired. Okay, I'm going to check and see if my commercial decal is coming off the paper yet. It's still not ready. But I do have, well, first of all, I can transfer this radiate positivity, but I have another one that is also going to fire up sepia, and it's just from a whole page of stock patterns that I printed up from the internet. And so I have this little piece right here. It's only yellow because I put a sealer on it that makes the decal more durable and less prone to ripping when it's being transferred. It doesn't fire with that. That yellow is just a food coloring that disappears in the firing. So let me see. We don't seem to have any hot water in the building today, so these are not popping off their backs very quickly. So again, I have those decals that print black but actually fire sepia, and I have another printer that has been retrofit so that the toner actually does fire black. So in the studio, we can fire really any imagery or text-based images that you want to transfer onto your ceramics that are in a sepia tone or in a black and white color scheme. So here is one of our fired on decals that was printed with the black and white printer. As you can see here, it's completely solid blacks. All right, let's see if we can get one of these off its back. Okay, here, this one's wanting to come. This is the one that I printed here in the studio, this little piece of pattern. It was connected to this paper backing, but now I'm going to just slide it. This piece already actually has one of these decals on it, so I'm just going to slide another one on there. And when I do that, I do want to make sure that I don't have any extra air bubbles between the decal and the ceramic surface, because that will not adhere to the clay when it's fired. You can put these decals on a dry glaze or even bare clay. However, they take on the surface, so they're going to be very dry, and that will alter the image if you put them on a dry glaze or an unglazed surface. So now I have two of these images here on this piece. Again, they're going to fire up to look sepia. This one that says radiate positivity is actually going to fire up black and white. But let's see if this one's coming off its back yet. It's really being slow. Oh, I'm getting it. So here's my bowl. Here's my decal with its loose on its paper. And I'm just going to slide the decal. Oh, I kind of want it over here. Slide the decal onto the piece. I don't know if you can see, there's a lot of, it's not fully adhered yet. There's a lot of air pockets between the decal and the bowl, so I need to make sure that I check that those go away, and it's a very smooth attachment. It's being a little fussy. But any place where I might have a wrinkle will end up being a place where it won't show up. There'll be a mess. It'll be messed up on my imagery. So I want to make sure it's really, really smooth on the piece, like this one is. This one's dried, so I can touch it. Yeah, so that's various ways of transferring images. The screen for leather hard clay, where it's screen print with underglazes. The commercial colored decals, the sepia tone decals that we can print in the studio, and the black and white ones that we can also print in the studio. I think that's it for this video.